The sky over Earth's outer colonies burned like a dying sun. Cruisers fell from orbit, tearing the clouds apart with fire. Cities crumbled into dust. The war was over, and not by mercy, but by extinction. Surgeon Cal Arden stood in the ruins of Outpost 9, his rifle empty, his armor cracked, his squad gone. Around him, the alien empire's banners unfurled, black silk threaded with living light. The conquerors moved like shadows with crowns. Cal lowered his weapon. He did not surrender. There was no one left to surrender to. When the alien soldiers bound his wrists, Cal did not fight. His war had already ended. And that was when his second war began. CFUON, T.G. Pride, and CESP Cal was dragged into the throne chamber of a world not meant for humans. The planet was called Astrea Prime, a violet world of floating continents and oceans that shimmered like glass. Above the capital city, ringed moons glowed with artificial light. Towers grown from crystal and bone spiraled into the sky, alive with soft bioluminescence. At the center of the hall sat Princess Nyxara of the Vira the Dominion. Her skin was obsidian, vined with faint silver light. Her eyes burned like twin suns trapped in dark stone. A living mantle of scaled silk coiled around her shoulders like a sleeping beast. The emperor spoke in a voice that shook the floor. As reward for your victory, my daughter, the last human soldier, is yours. Murmurs rippled through the court. Nyxara's lick her a pet. She hissed. Or a trophy. Cal lifted his chin. I'm not either, but the princess rose slow and dangerous. She circled him like a predator, burned my city, slaughtered my kin. Her gaze pierced him. I should have you executed. But Cal met her eyes, heart pounding. Then do it. The court fell silent, but Nyxara smiled, but it was not a kind smile. No, you will live. You will serve me. She leaned close enough that he could feel the heat of her breath. And you will learn what it means to belong to the enemy. Al's new world was a gilded prison. He was given quarters within the palace, beautiful, open to the sky, overlooking endless floating gardens. The air shimmered with drifting spores that glowed at night like falling stars. But guards followed him everywhere. The Verithi culture was brutal and ritual bound. Strength was law. Mercy was weakness. The defeated were either enslaved or erased from history. Nyxara made Cal walk beside her during public ceremonies, a reminder, a symbol of victory. She humiliated him with cold commands: kneel, walk, speak only when spoken to. Cal obeyed. Not from submission, but survival. Yet there were moments when he saw cracks in her armor. At night, he heard her screaming in her chambers, not in rage, in grief. When rebels attacked the capital, the palace became a battlefield. Explosions shattered the floating bridges. Alien soldiers fell into the void below. Energy blades lit the air with violet fire. Cal was unarmed when a rebel struck from behind. Without thinking, he tackled the attacker away from Nyxara. They tumbled across the crystal sands of the courtyard. Cal wrestled the blade aside, shattering it against the ground. The rebel fled into the smoke. Nyxara stared at Cal in shock. You protected me, she said. He coughed blood at his lip. War reflex, she dismissed the guards who rushed forward. That night, she summoned him alone. She demanded. Cal's voice was quiet because no one deserves to die like that. Nyxara laughed bitterly. You humans preach mercy after burning worlds. Some of us were soldiers. Cal replied, not monsters. Her eyes flickered. For the first time, she did not strike him. Save till no. The weeks changed her. Nyxara began asking Cal questions about Earth, about oceans that moved with tides, about rain that fell warm instead of glowing cold. She showed him Verithi rituals, duels fought with blades grown from bone, mourning ceremonies where the dead were sung into the stars. Their tension simmered into something unfamiliar. Once, during a storm of falling light, Nyxara confessed, I hate because your people killed my mother. Cal swallowed. My people killed my sister. A silence stretched between them. Then Nyxara whispered, we are both orphans of war, but was the first time she spoke to him not as a conqueror, but as a wounded soul. See Tapi, Lilyview, PVT, Fari, Nyxara's possessiveness burned hot. When Cal spoke kindly to a palace attendant, Nyxara dismissed the alien from service. Mine, she said, eyes blazing, I'm not a thing. Kale snapped. Her anger erupted. The palace lights dimmed in response to her psychic fury. You belong to me by law, and I belong to myself by being alive. The silence afterward was thunderous. Nyxara turned away trembling. Later, Cal found her alone in the Star Gardens, her fierce composure. I do not know how to care without conquering, she admitted. Cal knelt beside her, but C-A-T-E-R, sex, T-G-B-T-R-I-L, the emperor plotted Cal's execution. Some in the court feared the human's influence over the princess. They whispered that he was weakening her. Nyxara overheard the decree too late. Cal was taken to the void arena, where prisoners were cast into the gravity storms below. Nyxara descended in fury, cutting down guards with living blades. Touch him again. She roared, I will burn this empire to ash. The emperor stared at his daughter in horror. You would betray your blood for a human? Nyxara stood between Kale and the abyss. I betrayed tyranny. She shattered the arena floor. They fell together into the storm. The gravity storm ripped the sky apart. Cal and Nyxara clung to each other as fragments of floating land spiraled around them. Lightning made of starlight tore through the air. Nyxara shielded Cal with her own body, her energy mantle burning away. They crashed onto a forgotten fragment of Astraea Prime, an ancient ruin drifting alone in space. Wounded, isolated for days, Cal tended her injuries. She was weak without her royal power. You could leave me, she murmured, return to your people. But Cal shook his head. And I don't have a people anymore. But I have this. He took her hand for the first time. She led him. C-E-R-E-I-G-A-G-T-T-E-C-I-E. The Emperor's fleet found them. Warships surrounded the fragment, weapons charging. Nyxara stood, wounded but defiant. This ends with my death, she said. The Dominion will never accept us. Kale looked up at the stars. Then we don't ask them to. He activated the ancient ruins core, a forgotten warp engine built by a civilization older than both their peoples. The fragment tore itself free from Astraea Prime's orbit. The Emperor screamed as the princess vanished into the void. The battlefield was a canvas of fire and smoke, painted in shades of red and gray. Explosions ripped through the air with deafening ferocity, sending shards of metal and concrete flying like deadly confetti. Somewhere in the chaos, Sergeant Kale Arden moved with uncanny precision, every step measured, every breath controlled. His armor was battered and scorched, a testament to the countless battles he had survived, yet his resolve remained unbroken. Kale was no ordinary soldier. He was a man forged in the relentless crucible of war. From the moment he had enlisted, he had been trained to embrace fear, to channel it into focus, to turn chaos into strategy. His eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the battlefield with a predator's instinct. Every fallen comrade, every collapsing structure, every flash of enemy fire was a signal, a clue to be read, to be acted upon. Around him, the war raged with a life of its own. Alien war machines, sleek and terrifying, cut swaths through human lines, their plasma cannons leaving trails of molten ruin. The air was thick with acrid smoke, the scent of burning metal and scorched earth filling Cal's lungs. Despite this, he moved without hesitation, ducking behind rubble, rolling across broken ground, and firing with deadly accuracy. His rifle sang a song of survival and defiance, each shot a statement. He would not fall here, not today. Kale's reputation had grown on this battlefield. Tales of his bravery circulated among souls in hushed tones, half in admiration, half in disbelief. He had led charges where others would falter, rescued squads trapped behind enemy lines, and held positions against overwhelming odds. But to him, it was never about glory. It was about survival, about duty, about the people who relied on him. He had learned early that hesitation was a luxury the war could not afford, and that every decision could mean life or death for him, for his comrades. He paused for a moment behind the wreckage of a collapsed building, his armor dented and scorched, his face streaked with soot and blood. The enemy was advancing, their movements precise, almost mechanical, but Kale's mind was already several steps ahead. He calculated angles, considered trajectories, anticipated their strategies. In the chaos, he remained a calm center, the eye in the storm of destruction. Yet, Beneath this calculated exterior, there was more than just skill and instinct. Cale carried the weight of loss of friends and brothers who had fallen beside him. Every time he saw a comrade struck down, a part of him hardened, but another part mourned silently. It was a dichotomy he had learned to live with. The soldier who fights with cold efficiency and the human who feels too much, even when he must not. The war was not only a physical trial, but a mental one. Cale had endured missions that would have broken lesser men. Nights spent in trenches with the enemy looming just beyond, moments where silence itself carried the threat of annihilation and the constant uncertainty of survival. And yet, through every trial, Cale adapted. He observed, learned, and evolved. Every close call, every skirmish, every heart-pounding encounter sharpened him, turning him into a weapon of both precision and instinct. As the battle intensified, Cale spotted a squad pinned down by alien snipers, their positions exposed and vulnerable. Without hesitation, he sprinted across open ground, dodging plasma fire, diving behind cover when needed, and neutralizing the threat with expert marksmanship. One by one, he cleared the path, guiding his comrades to safety. There was a fluidity to his movements, a harmony between thought and action that seemed almost unnatural, but it was born of experience, relentless training under conditions most could not endure. Even as the war raged around him, Cale's mind never lost sight of the bigger picture. He understood the stakes, the survival of entire colonies, the balance of life and death hanging on each mission. He fought not out of hatred for the enemy, though that feeling burned in his chest, but out of a sense of responsibility, a recognition that every action had consequences beyond the battlefield. And yet, despite the fire, the blood, the chaos, Cale remained human. He laughed quietly with his squad when moments of levity arose, shared stories of home, of sympathy that made life worth fighting for. Those small moments of connection, brief as they were, reminded him why he endured. They fueled his courage, strengthened his resolve, and anchored him amidst the storm of war. In the smoke-filled horizon, Cale Arden moved like a force of nature, relentless, precise, and unyielding. The war had tested him in ways no human should endure, yet he stood unwavering, a soldier defined not only by his skill and bravery, but by his humanity. In the chaos of destruction, Cale was more than a survivor. He was a symbol of resistance, a beacon of hope amidst despair. As another explosion shook the ground beneath him, Cale raised his rifle, his eyes scanning the battlefield with unwavering focus. The war would continue, relentless and merciless, but so would he. He would fight. He would survive. And in that endless storm of fire and shadow, Sergeant Cale Arden would prove that even the darkest hours humanity could endure and perhaps even triumph. The war had reached its crescendo. On the barren moons of the outer colonies, the horizon burned with fire and smoke, a scar across the sky that marked humanity's last stand. Cale Arden crouched behind a fractured wall of concrete and steel, scanning the battlefield with eyes sharpened by years of combat. Every movement mattered. Every second could decide life or death. The alien forces were unlike any humanity had faced before. Their soldiers moved with mechanical precision, their limbs lit by bioluminescent veins, their weapons capable of tearing through the strongest armor. Drones hummed overhead, scanning for movement, while massive war machines stomped across the field, their energy cannons spitting blue, white fire that melted rock and metal alike. To survive, knew he could not rely on brute force alone. Strategy was his only ally. He signaled to his squad with a quick tap on his comm unit. A silent nod passed between them, understanding the plan without a single word. Cale had studied the alien formations for days. He knew their weaknesses, predictable firing sequences, blind spots in their armor, and a reliance on synchronized movement that left them vulnerable to disruption. The first wave of alien soldiers advanced, their boots striking the ground in unison, sending tremors through the rubble-strewn battlefield. Cale took a deep breath, heart steady despite the chaos around him. Wait for my mark, he whispered. Timing was everything. One misstep and the enemy would overwhelm them. When the signal came, Kale leaped from cover, rolling across the cracked earth as he fired with precision. Each shot found its mark, disabling drones and sending alien soldiers sprawling. His squad followed with coordinated efficiency, dropping explosives at the feet of the towering war machines. One machine erupted in a ball of fire, its metal limbs twisting as it fell. Sparks flew into the smoke, choked sky, lighting the battlefield like an inferno. Amidst the chaos, Kale spotted a squad trapped in the crossfire, pinned beneath a hail of alien plasma. Without hesitation, he sprinted across open ground, ducking under energy beams that hissed past him. Every step was a gamble, every breath a defiance of death itself. He reached his comrades, covering them with suppressive fire as they scrambled to safety. Cal's mind was a whirlwind of calculations. He anticipated enemy movements, predicted the timing of reinforcements, and adjusted his squad's positioning with split-second precision. He became a conductor in a symphony of war, orchestrating chaos into advantage. Explosions flared around him, yet he moved with fluid grace, dodging debris, fire and signaling leading. Then came the turning point. A massive alien dreadnought emerged on the horizon. Enough. Its multi-limb frame towering above the battlefield. Its energy cannon charged, a beam capable of annihilating entire squads. Kale didn't flinch. He had seen this coming. Using the terrain to his advantage, he coordinated an ambush, luring the dreadnought into a canyon of jagged rocks. Mines detonated at precise intervals, ripping apart its legs and destabilizing it. With a final calculated strike, the creature collapsed, sending shockwaves across the field. Victory was not immediate. Alien reinforcements continued to pour in, relentless and organized, but Kale's squads pressed forward, exploiting every weakness, striking with precision, and retreating when necessary. Each act of courage inspired those around him. Soldiers rallied, moving renewed determination, knowing that with Kale leading, survival was within reach. Amid the turmoil, Kale performed acts that would become legends. He scaled the side of a falling command tower to disable an alien beacon controlling drone swarms. He risked his life to rescue a wounded officer trapped in a collapsing tunnel, carrying him through smoke and fire to safety. Each heroic action was a thread in the larger tapestry of victory, weaving courage into the hearts of those who fought alongside him. As the battle neared its climax, Cal faced the alien commander, a towering figure cloaked in shifting armor that pulsed with alien energy. Their eyes met across the battlefield, a silent challenge passing between them. The commander unleashed a barrage of attack, but Cal's instincts were faster. Rolling, diving, firing, he maneuvered through the storm of energy beams, each shot chipping away at the enemy's defenses. Finally, with a calculated throw of a plasma grenade, the commander fell. The alien forces breaking in disarray, silence descended. The battlefield, once a maelstrom of fire and death, now lay in shattered stillness. Smoke hung in the air, mingling with the acrid scent of scorched metal. Cal Arden stood atop a ridge, battered but unbroken. Around him, his squad regrouped, eyes wide with relief and awe. They had survived. Against impossible odds, they had won. Yet Cal did not celebrate. His gaze swept over the ruins, the destroyed colonies, the fallen comrades. The cost of victory etched into the scared landscape. War had been won, but at a price that weighed heavily on him. Still, he remained vigilant. The alien forces were beaten, and in the distance, the stars beyond the battlefield hinted at a future both and full of peril. Surgeon Cal Arden, human soldier, hero, survivor, looked toward the horizon. The war had tested him in every way imaginable, pushed him to the edge of human endurance, and revealed the depth of his courage. He had faced death countless times and emerged not only alive, but unbroken. And as the sun of the war-torn colony rose, streaking the sky with fire and ash, Cal knew that the fight had changed him forever. He had led. He had fought. He had survived. In that crucible of fire, he had earned a victory that would echo across the stars. The throne room of the Varethi Empire stretched impossibly high, a cathedral of living crystal that pulsed with faint bioluminescent light. Towers of bone and glass spiraled into the violet sky, and every surface shimmered with alien energy, as if the palace itself were alive and aware. The air vibrated with tension, thick and electric, carrying the scent of ozone and burnt metal from the recent war. Soldiers, diplomats, and dignitaries from every conquered world had gathered, enough for their armor and garments reflecting the strange, haunting light of Estrella Prime. At the far end of the hall, on a throne carved from the fused skeletons of ancient beasts, sat Emperor Virith, ruler of the Dominion. His presence alone bent the attention of every being in the room. Cloaked in black silk threaded with living light, his eyes glimmered like molten silver. A voice that resonated with authority and menace boomed through the hall, vibrating in the bones of all who stood before him. Lords and officers of the Dominion, he declared, his tone calm but laden with power. The war is concluded. Humanity's rebellion has been extinguished. Their colonies lie in ruin and their fleets are broken. And yet even in victory, recognition is due. The court murmured, a ripple of anticipation passing through alien nobles and generals alike. Kael Arden, the human soldier whose survival had become legend, knelt at the center of the chamber, his hands bound but his chin lifted, defiance and exhaustion etched across his face. His armor was scorched, his body bruised, yet there was a poise in him that betrayed a soldier unbowed, the emperor's eyes fixed on Kael, glinting like sharpened obsidian. One human has survived where others fell. One human whose cunning and bravery have been noted even by my most trusted commanders. And a hush fell across the assembly. Whispers spread like wildfire. The human will be rewarded. But how Virith's gaze shifted, sweeping the room with deliberate precision. And so the reward for such resilience, for this remarkable display of skill, courage, and survival, enough shall be granted, a prize worthy of both honor and danger, a gift of power. The throne room trembled as massive doors at the far end opened, revealing a figure that drew every gaze. The crowd gasped, whispers turning into astonished silence. She strode forward, moving with the grace and danger of a coiled predator. Scales glinted across her skin, black as obsidian, veined with silver light that pulsed with every step. Her eyes blazed like twin stars, piercing and wild, and a living mantle of shimmering, coiling scales draped over her shoulders, shifting and moving as if it had a mind of its own. Princess Nyxora, heir to the Dominion, stood before the court, a being of power and fury incarnate. She moved with a raw elegance, her presence both mesmerizing and terrifying. Whispers erupted among the nobles. She is untamed, even for a Verithi. No one commands Nyxora. A virus voice cut through the murmurs. My daughter, Nyxora, the untamed, the fierce, the heir to my throne. To you, I entrust a prize from the defeated, a human, one who has fought valiantly and survived against impossible odds. He is yours.